Hello, welcome back to Toy Thursday, where we do some geeky stuff and I show you some of my collection. This is June 11, 2020, week number 15 of the coronavirus, staying at home, social distancing, and geek out time. Wow, what in the world is that? Well, right in front of the camera, you're looking at one of the holy grails in my collection. One of the action figures that I can say is one of my favorite and one of the most treasured. This is Metlar from the 1986 Inhumanoids cartoon. For those who are not familiar with the cartoon, I'm going to include a link in the description so you guys can learn more about it. It was a short-lived cartoon, a very short-lived toy series, but it is very unique in several ways. One of the most unique aspects of the Inhumanoids cartoon is that it was, if not the only one of the very, very few cartoons ever named after the bad guys. I mean, when you look at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, okay, the heroes are Ninja Turtle. Thundercat, the heroes are Thundercat. Gargoyles, Captain Planet, Batman, Superman. We can go on and on. Most shows are named after the heroes, but the humanoids were named after the bad guys. And just look at this bad boy. Huge. This is a one massive action figure. I don't know if you guys can make out the scale on the camera. I'm going to do a size comparison in a little bit, but this guy is so big that I don't even need to put him on the cardboard box that I usually review action figures on. Inhumanoid, simply put, was a cartoon about good versus evil. There were three giant monsters: Decompose, Tendril, and Metlar, the subject of today's review. The three giant monsters were trying to take over the world, and there were four human characters that tried to stop them. The cartoon only ran for 13 episodes, and unfortunately, the action figure line didn't last very long either. Really a shame because it was one of the best action figure lines ever produced in the 80s and all the way into the 90s. Even today, you are going to find action figure really hard to find an action figure that's going to beat good old Metlar here. For those of my friends and viewers who are visually impaired or blind, I'm going to attempt to describe this guy. Metlar here is a giant fire earth elemental monster. Uh, he's about 14 inches tall and at least 12 inches wide, I would say. He weighs oh, a good solid 2 pounds, I think. And that's taking into consideration that he's already made with very hollow plastic. Uh, he's still that heavy. There's a lot of plastic on this guy. He is covered in overlapping plates and spikes. He has four fingers on each hand, and his hands are huge. Like his hands are big enough to grab uh, even today's 7-inch, 8-inch figures, no problem. He is kind of like a cross between a giant troll and some kind of wild boar with a touch of uh, Triceratops. I'm going to bend him forward so you guys can see the top of his head. He actually has really big ears and three cute little horns. Well, cute is not really the word you would associate with this guy. He's got two toes on each of his giant foot, spikes coming out of his heel. He has spikes coming out of his knee and spikes coming out of his shoulder, the side of his shoulder. And he has a stubby little tail. When you consider that this action figure was made in 1986, it's crazy. And what's even more crazy is that this action figure only cost $20 back then. And a lot of parents refused to buy it for their kids because $20 back then for an action figure was unthinkable. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a little while. He is articulated at the shoulders, and there are even ball joints. They can go in and out. Arms move up and down. His wrist can rotate. His leg can move at the hip. Now, he is really heavy, so when you pose someone like this, gotta be careful, otherwise he tend to tip forward and knock everything off the shelf. His head looks like it should be able to rotate, but it doesn't. So yeah, he's not very articulated, just arms, legs. But when you have a giant beast of a monster like this, he really doesn't have to do anything. You just stand on your shelf and you scare every other action figure to death. Now, a quick size comparison. We'll use our favorite human-sized character for comparison. Here is Will Smith as Deadshot from Suicide Squad. I don't know if you can even see him. he barely come up to Metlar's pubic area. Ridiculous. Like, compared to a human-sized figure, I'm going to hold him up a little bit higher. Metlar's head alone is almost bigger than Will Smith's entire person. Metlar's arm is bigger than Will Smith's entire person. Metlar's foot, yeah, almost bigger than the entire person. And as you can see, yikes, Will Smith fit perfectly in Metlar's giant cross. Not a fun place to be. Now Will Smith here cost about $25, although now he's mostly relegated to deep discount, so you can sometimes get him for $12 or even $8. Like I said, Metlar here, back then, in 1986, $20. I've had a lot of times during my adult life and teenage years where I had to defend my hobby as an action figure collector. I don't know how many of you collect and can relate to this, but It's really sad. Here we are, collecting action figures is not a crime. It's not something that you should be ashamed of. And yet, you get judged by your friends, you get judged by your parents, you get judged by other people, and you have to hide this hobby almost like it's some dirty little secret. It's like you get to know a new girl. It's not going to be one of the things when the new girl asks you what are your hobbies. Most likely, unless you're some kind of really, really secure, really confident individual, most likely you're going to say something like, well, I like to read, I like to walk on the beach, I like to hike, I like to go camping, oh, I really like baseball. But you are not going to automatically mention I collect action figures unless you really, really know that girl, and that girl is very exceptional. And that's a shame because there's nothing wrong with this hobby. This hobby is even very beneficial, both financially and psychologically. Psychologically, it's easy to understand. You do something you like, you're not hurting anybody, and there's always going to be new action figures for you to want to get. So it's a very rewarding hobby. You never run out of things to get. But a lot of people don't understand how can this be financially rewarding. I remember with my previous girlfriend, her father used to make judgmental comments about my action figure. He wouldn't come right out and say that I was collecting garbage, but he would make comments like, well, if you don't waste your money on pointless things, then you would have paid off your student loan by now. Or he would make comments like, you know, when I was your age, I already bought my first house. I saved a lot of money. I ate very little. I drank very little. I worked, and I never had the luxury to buy toys. In another word, if you don't buy toys, you don't waste your money, you would own your own house. Sometimes he would even say, why would you want to spend money on useless things like that? Why would you want to waste money on plastic statues and toys? But just in case any of you collectors run into this situation, or any of your parents feel like saying this kind of judgmental thing to your kids, or any of you ever want to say a judgmental thing to your friends regarding their collection, let me give you a quick example of how Metlar here is a big money maker. And there are tons and tons of action figures out there. Just look on eBay. Look on eBay, you will see what I mean. Back in 1986, this 14-inch, 2 pounds heavy action figure was $20. $20. Most action figures today go for $25 to $29. A lot of action figures, 6 inches, 3 inches figures go for $40. Now, of course, some of you are going to say, well, no, that's not a fair assessment because $20 back then may worth a lot more today. $20 back then is not $20 today. Well, just to head off that argument, before I started today's video, I actually hopped onto Google and plugged in what is $20 in 1986 worth today. The answer? Not as much as you think. $20 in 1986 is about the equivalent of $46 today. $46 today. There's no way in the world you can get a 14-inch tall, 12-inch wide, 8-inch thick, 2-pound weight action figure for $46 today. No way. You'll be lucky if you can get a 10-inch tall figure for that amount. There are action figures today that are 6-inch tall and go for $200. I'll show you some of those later in another episode. But anyway, Metlar. If you go on eBay and search for inhumanoids figure and you look at the Metlar, the decompose, the tendril, the three giant monsters, you will notice that these $20 figures are now selling on eBay for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Metlar here, I got him for $120, and that was a bargain. If you want a Metlar that's still in his original box, you would be looking at $400 at least. So just think, parents back then that bought their kid a $20 action figure. Their kids, if they take good care of that action figure, today they would be able to sell it for $100, $200 if it's out of the box, $400 if they keep the original box. So if you take care of your action figure, it's actually a better investment than even stock, than even certificates. You keep them for 10, 20 years, and you can sell them for maybe 10 times and 20 times the original price. It's all about how you take care of your action figures. Now, obviously, if you take your action figures and bash them up against each other and get them all damaged and stuff, then there's not going to be a lot you can get them for. But hey, if you do that, then obviously you had a lot of fun with your action figures. So there's reward in having fun as well. Another argument that I used to run into with regarding to action figure was with my mom. When I was a teenager, when I was first turning 20, my mom used to try to shame me out of collecting action figures by saying things like, "How are you ever going to get laid? How are you ever going to get a girl if you have toys all over your house?" Even back then, I always just smile at her and say, "Hey, mom, guess what? I don't really have problem getting girls. Never had a problem." So obviously, the toys don't really detract me from them. So that argument not valid. Sorry, mom. And then she changed tactic. She started to badger me every single time she saw me cleaning my action figure display, rearranging my action figure, and so on and so on. She would nag me. She would badger me. "Oh, you waste so much money. You waste so much time. You are too old for toys. When are you going to grow up?" And on and on and on and on. Until, and I believe this was back in 2007, until one day I finally snapped and I turned to her and I said, no, I didn't say that. That was Tiger. I don't know if you guys can see this. This is Tiger behind Metlar. And Metlar is actually big enough to block the cat. And Tiger just blocked our view. Uh, anyway, so one day, 2007, I finally had enough of being shamed and badgered by my mom. I turned to her and I said, okay, Mom, tell you what. I'm going to sell my entire collection. And I could just sense how happy she was, how smug she was. I could I couldn't see her, but I could almost see in my mind the smile that was coming to her face. And then I continued. I said, I'm going to sell my entire collection tomorrow, and I'm going to start doing adult things like hiring prostitutes, getting into drugs, going to heavy metal concert every night, and get drunk and bringing wild women home. Would that make you happier? Guess what? That was the last time ever that she badgered me about my action figures. Thank you for checking out today's Toy Thursday. We'll be back again tomorrow for Fitness Friday. For now, have fun, be safe, be strong. Have a good night.